Hi, I'm Nicholas Pande from the Council of Anglican Provinces of Africa, part of the Anglican Communion delegation to this conference to bring the voices of young people, but also to share the experiences of the people from the African region. This conference really has come up with a lot of things. There have been lots of discussions, there have been negotiations by the government, there have been sharing of many things that can help us to respond to the climate crisis we are experiencing. But just to reflect on really some of the things coming out of the draft decision that has been shared with us yesterday, is that we feel that some of the things that concerned us as we came into this conference have somehow been acknowledged in the draft decision. As a communion, we came into this conference with a keen focus on just financing and in resilience building. And in the draft decision, we have seen acknowledgement of the important role of the civil society, young people, and the indigenous peoples, which we feel is a good thing, that as we respond to climate change, that the important participation of these groups are considered. And we are also happy to see in the draft decision that it acknowledges that climate change is globally interlinked with biodiversity loss. These are things that as a church we have seen together, and that's why we are participating in these processes of UNFCCC together with the CBD as we look forward to next year, where the Convention on Biodiversity will be adopting the post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework, because we have acknowledged that we are experiencing twin crises, climate change and biodiversity loss, and we're happy to see that being reflected in the draft decision. Another thing that I would say I've seen and happy with is the acknowledgement that the Adaptation Climate Fund is insufficient to support the countries in need to build resilience for their communities. And the call for that fund to be scaled up, I think that it's a good thing that parties will be pushed to scale up that financing so that they are able to support these very needy communities. But again, we've also seen the acknowledgement of nature-based solutions to the climate crisis we are facing, which is something that as people of faith we really acknowledge, because we believe that these are the ecosystems sustain themselves, and any disruption of these ecosystems is what has led us to where we are. And so the reverse can only happen within nature itself. And so nature-based solutions are a key component of our solutions, and we are happy to see that being reflected in that draft decision. But of course, there are other gaps that are still there, like meeting the target for the 100 billion USD annually. It's now being pushed to 2023, maybe 2025. That becomes a disappointment. Still, the huge gap in terms of accessing to that finance. There have been frustrations on how to access it. We've also seen that report acknowledging the need to simplify those processes. And so, possible outcomes of this conference will say that there are a number of things that have captured our aspirations, but there are still gaps that we need addressed. Particularly for young people, I think that acknowledging the important role of young people, and that in this conference we've also seen the youth leadership and the voice of young people coming in, some which have really inspired us to act and challenge the leaders of today, the people who are making decisions, to act, because this is really an existential threat, and the people who are going to bear much of the brunt, because as we've approached climate change issues as justice issues, we've seen them that there may be other economies in parts of the world that are responsible more, and others are facing the challenges. But we also, as young people, are seeing it, that there is a generation that is more responsible, yet leaving the impact to the younger generation. So as young people, we really want to see action now, so that this heavy weight is not left in our shoulders. And as a communion, I see the role of young people to be able to start action at the local communities, that will be able to build capacities of young people to speak to the issues as they come, but also to inspire local actions. So it will be very important that going forward, that the Anglican Communion will invest in building capacities of young people to be able to be aware of what is happening around them, but also to build the movement from below, so that we can engage with governments, and we can also give solutions. Young people are creative, they are innovative, they should be able to propose some of the solutions. So I will be very keen to see that happening together with our bishops, the leadership, the church leadership, that That capacity will also be built of bishops and of the primates so that they're able to speak to these issues with clarity, with evidence, and with very, very strong grounds for some of the things that are coming out of this conference, especially things to do with the energy transition and many other things. So for now, I would capture those as my reflections, looking forward to much, much more sharing on this. Thank you.